Hi there, Furkan Zil and all the rest of you good people out there. I hope that you're all safe and sound and that health is with you. Regarding a question on the forum, which I interpretate to in an assembly environment, but within the model application, you want to section only some components. Using the view and clip section, it will only cut it kind of along a section. You can choose to follow the example already presented to you by good Yoshinori-san. But I want to present some material in addition to that, depending on what you are about to do. And I would assume that this would be for working in context or maybe create images where you kind of partially have cut up a part to show the inside. And in order to do that, there are some options in addition to what good Yoshinori-san has presented to you here. One would be assembly cut, and assembly cut will work. You could use suppressed by expression to kind of display or not display the section. It depends on what you're going to use the gearbox for downstream as well. Meaning that once you're done with your work, you would suppress the assembly cut. Well, anyway. If we have a look at the assembly cut, we will need some material in the assembly part though. So we need an extrude that I can use for an assembly cut. So we're going to create an extrude and we're going to create it on the front plane, let's say here. And I want something that I will create just a square around the entire gearbox here. Excuse me, and I will flip that around and I'm just going to create that there. So that means I now have a solid that is interfering with the entire gearbox there, and I can select what I want to use this for. But under more here we can find the assembly cut, and primarily I want to open up the bell housing here. So I select the bell housing and I select the extrude that I created, and the system will now run off and subtract that for me. And remember, this is in the assembly environment, so this subtract cut open here is only happening in the assembly level here. So if I look in the feature navigator here, we can see that we have an assembly cut, we have an extrude. But that enables me to look inside the engine here, the gearbox or transmission. It might also be I want to edit that assembly, because I might also want this to go along the whole gearbox here, so to say. That means I can select the rest of the bodies that is across the center plane here, and we say OK to that, and you can see that the assembly cut will actually do this to all these components, meaning I'm now opening up the gearbox kind of in a side view where I have some parts sectioned in the center plane there, and some part like the axes and so on not sectioned, meaning I could easily continue working on them if you like, and that would be one way of doing it. So let's have that update, and we can now see that okay, so I have now cut some of those parts away, and I'm now displaying the axes fully, and I am able to continue working inside that gearbox in a assembly context, if you like. Now these features here, you could suppress them by expression, meaning that these would be suppressed in the normal state, where you kind of use this transmission downstream, and once working here, and when you need, you can unsuppress these using an expression, and you can continue working. That would be one way of doing this. Now, I'm not going to do that here. Let's say you want the ability to do exactly the same thing, but in a drawing file. Now, in a drawing file, you also have already have the ability to only section some parts and accept some parts out of that section. But another way of doing this would be to use reference set, and well, personally, that's the way I like it, and that's probably the way I would do it. That means I would open up this, let's say, bell house. You would have to do this in each part that you want section. Open up this bell house. I'm gonna extract. I'm gonna make an associative copy, and I'm gonna hide the original. And because I want to actually trim this this bell house here to the center plane there. So that means I will have two versions. One would be the full one, and the extracted one here is going to be the trimmed version, which I will trim with a center plane there. And let's finish that thing there. And so that means I now have two versions here. I have one trimmed, and I have the original, which is not trimmed, of course. What I now need to do is I need to utilize the reference sets here. So if we take the model here, now the half if is there as well, the one I split in half. I'm going to exclude that from the modeler reference set, and I'm going to create myself a separate one, which would be partially sectioned. And let's put ASCII for assembly in front of that. Let's create that, and let's make sure that the assembly, so we're going to deselect all, and I'm going to make sure I only have the halved or split bell house there. Close. That means if I go over to the assembly, I can now shift between the full and the halved version here, if you like. So if I under reference set use the model one, should have been in there. Let's see here now what happened with the model. Maybe I renamed that. Menu, format, reference set. There should be a model in there. That was the one I renamed. And I'm going to create a new one here, which I manually, this is normally per default created. And I'm going to select the first body in there as that is the original. And then we go back to the assembly to check if we have the reference sets in here. So we have a model in there, which should be the complete version, and I have the partially cut open version there, if you like. So I would probably go the later version here, depending on how you want to handle this and what the downstream purpose would be. But there you go. You have two more options to do your kind of a partial section through an assembly in order to work in context, maybe inside, or just create pictures for explanatory purposes, etc. Okay, Furkan, and all you good people out there, I hope you got something out of this, and I hope it will be of help to you. And with that, I'm gonna leave you for tonight. All you good people out there, stay safe, stay sound, and above all, stay healthy. Over and out from Fred. Bye for now.